All right. Hey, welcome back to Edge of the Web. Here's some news for you. Facebook announces new advances in VR and AR, including AR glasses coming next year. Google don't expect the same rankings after the manual action recoveries, as well as Google confirming that Search Console reporting is delayed. Today on The Edge.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
Welcome back to the Edge of the Web radio bonus news podcast for episode 370. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks, and thanks for joining us. If you haven't come across the podcast before, we're always trying to give you some great digital marketing news that's happening right now. Joining me this week to get his take on all this that's moving and shaking in the digital marketing space is Paul Shapiro. Let's take a look at our first article. Paul, how you doing, sir, today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very good. Very good. Thanks. Happy Thursday and soon to be Friday to you.
It's my new favorite holiday.
It is. What do we call that? The third fry? I mean, let's find that wedge between 2 days. Let's find it.
Let's say like Friday's Eve.
Friday's Eve or
something.
Yes, Friday's Eve.
All Friday's Eve.
It's all Friday's Eve here on the Edge. We're celebrating it. And you know what? We want to actually bring you some news today so you can actually pack up into Friday and enjoy the wonderful weekend. From social media today, here's some good information. There's a big expose. Facebook announces new advances in VR and AR, including AR glasses coming up next year. There are some major updates of note, and here's an overview of some of the key announcements. So check this out. It's a sizable article over at Social Media Today. So they announced a number of different things. Project Area, that was a major announcement of the event, Facebook Connect. They announced the Project Area smart glasses, which Facebook staff are now experimenting with in the real world and is expected to be released to the public next year. So these glasses, so quote unquote, imagine a pair of glasses that add a 3D layer of useful, contextual, relevant, and meaningful information on top of the physical world. Such a device could help us perform everyday tasks better, like finding your keys, navigating a new city, and capturing a moment, but it could also open up an entirely new way of moving through the world. Okay, I don't know about you. The glasses look cool, but I'm having a bit of deja vu here from Google Glass. That never actually launched. So this Project Area is the first step in the process, and the prototypes will not provide AR overlays within the lenses, but will be essentially research devices, helping Facebook gather data to support the development of things like head tracking, eye tracking, and audio algorithms. All right, so am I correct in saying that they're actually launching glasses in society that are basically reconnaissance glasses to be able to train Facebook to help understand how to actually gather more and more data, eye tracking and audio. So we're literally spying on each other now with Facebook glasses. Paul, what do you think there?
Yeah, I mean that is what it sounds like. Although it might just be that they're like learning how to actually train their glasses for a public release.
Absolutely. I just set it up as a complete.
I mean, we could play the spec. I mean, we can think poorly of Facebook. I mean, and see it for what it is. It's an advertising platform. We're collecting advertising data.
I mean, you remember what is it? Ready Player One, right? Where their goggles literally had ads everywhere in their visual. They could go up to 75% of the visual overlay without impeding people's performance, right? So, what are they going to be putting in front of us? And why is this so? Is this similar to Google Glass? Why is this actually getting launched this way? What do you think about just overlaying your reality continually with content and observational screens? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm a nerd at heart, so I mean, I'm kind of like on board with it. But for one, those are way uglier than Google Glass. Actually,
I know. Well, they got the manufacturer of Ray-Ban, or a manufacturer of Ray-Ban, the maker of Ray-Bans. This is Excelsior Lux. Oh wow, I'm not even gonna pronounce that. Yeah, so they look a bit like thick Ray-Bans, man. So I mean, there's some style there, right?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things with Google Glass is the functionality. Well, it was never publicly released, but the functionality wasn't all that useful. I had friends who were in the beta or whatever, the test group, and they didn't do anything. I can imagine Facebook Glass is actually doing more, right? So like, what did Google do? Like, you could share to Google Plus, right? Like, share Google photos to Google Plus. Like, how useful is that?
Right.
It's not useful at all now, but I'm like envisioning something from like the Social Network where like Mark Zuckerberg creates Facebook and he creates it for the purpose of like knowing who's single. And then you just like overlay someone's face and like, she's single, she's married. Physical social network.
There you go. How much net worth that person is, right? When was the last time they posted? Oh wow, they posted something gang related. Okay, honestly, you could unpack everything, right?
Yeah.
Political persuasions, right?
That's the scary stuff.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sliding there, aren't I? Well, I mean, they've got so much demographic information and personal information. I mean, yeah. But all right. So anyway, they also released the Oculus Quest 2. If you're familiar with Oculus Quest, it's a VR application, gaming VR, and evidently it's a fantastic upgrade from the Oculus Quest. It's going to be released October of this year. So if you haven't come across the Oculus Quest, it's a wireless VR. It delivers fresh experiences. If you've not seen it, if you've not watched Jurassic Park on that thing, oh my gosh, you got to check it out. It is incredible. You're literally petting Blue right there. It is crazy nutty how real that is. And so they've actually upgraded it. The specs are actually really cool. They dropped the price. It's down to like $299 to start with. And no, we're not going to buy it. I'm just talking to my entire family right now. But their specs are pretty cool. They actually have increased the RAM. They've dropped the weight of the device, and a couple other cool upgrades on that. So they're investing a heck of a lot into this VR space. Paul, from your geek side of this of the equation here, what do you think about kind of the resurgence of VR? Because we talked about it a couple shows ago regarding the old, what was that, True Life or whatever that one application was that was launched, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Real Life,
Second Life.
Second Life.
Much older than that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like
that was 10 years ago.
It was probably 20 years
No,
ago.
come on, seriously?
yeah. It's old. It's old at this point.
My gosh, now,
It's somewhere between 10 and 20. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a minute. So what's your thought about this entire VR immersion that's happening right now?
2003 is when Second Life came out.
2003.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Jacob. I am very old now. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like most of the applications are video games, and they're fun, but like I'm personally not big into video games. I probably would prefer to play a VR video game than like a regular video game, but I think some of what it enables is even cooler, but we're not really seeing that yet. Like a Second Life type thing with VR would be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Facebook's kind of teeing that up with this entire sandbox. We mentioned on the show here a couple shows ago. This VR, it's almost like a Minecraft for adults. Is that it's this entire universe that you can create. But they're also working on innovations to facilitate work collaboration in replacement of the physical office. So they're actually focused on this infinite office application that is not only tied into computer screens, but it's also collaborative in nature. So now you're going to be able to start seeing shared whiteboard experiences via VR. So, I mean, we all want to get back to the real world, but while we're here, all of a sudden, now we're going to have a whole lot more toys to play with. So do we ever want to come back to the real world? No? Jacob shakes his head. Paul's shaking his head too. All right. It's a consortium. All right. Next on the agenda here over at Search Engine Journal from Matt Southern. from Google, don't expect the same rankings after a manual action recovery. Google's John Mueller, who's been on the show here just recently, advises site owners to adjust their rankings, the ranking expectations after recovering from a manual penalty. So with that, just quickly, Paul, have you ever come across one of your clients that got dinged with a manual penalty?
I have been fortunate enough to not deal with much penalties, but I will say this: that's pretty lame, Google. You should reinstate things. If you've taken the effort to undo something gnarly that you did, what's the point of punishing us further?
Yeah, well, according to this topic was actually addressed during that Google Webmaster Central Hangout that was held September 8th. A concerned site owner actually submitted the question, and John's response was, it's impossible to say. It's something where we can't really say what the actual effect would be, because if your website had just 200 links, and if you remove all of the links to your website, then obviously that will not be something that is kind of more of a stronger effect. On the other hand, if your site has millions of links and is well embedded within the web, then these 200 backlinks are from a paid campaign in which you basically, the point is that they he's trying to equivocate a little bit about what that really meant from a manual action, depending on the credit score, so to speak, of any given site with larger amount of links or smaller amount of links. But if we're not going to be able to recover back to a place where we were, and what they're saying is that we really didn't deserve the rankings to begin with in that space before the manual penalty. That's the brutal, honest truth of it. Paul, what do you think?
That sounds fair. That's a different take. Yeah, I mean, but if you did everything you did to recover from the manual penalty and then took additional effort on top of that, started doing real good work,
sure,
you should be able to recover once you made those changes.
You'd think so. You'd think so, and I would think it would also come into play how recency of the links itself, as opposed to some older, more seasoned baggage, what have you. I mean, there's a lot of different factors there, but give us hope. Give us hope that we can recover something back, please. Otherwise, what do we have to live for here from a manual action? Come on. We're getting our stuff straight. All right. So with that last article that we wanted to bring up here, but before that, we want to make sure that we mention our sponsors. Hrefs is a fantastic tool to be able to analyze your competitors' rankings, see what keywords are ranking on, and the top features that are bringing them success. You can actually deconstruct their entire link profile and be able to see the baggage that they don't, right? And be able to put together an entire plan of attack of how you want to eat their lunch on the rankings out there for your particular campaign. So check it out. It's a fantastic tool. Great audit tools, great link analysis tools. And I think it's one of the best in the market for being able to see the enormity and the recency of all links. I mean, you're getting daily reports from their link assessments. So check it out, Hrefs. That's Ahrefs, silent A, ahrefs.com. Go over there, check it out. I think they have a 7 week for $7 promo there. What's that? 7 days. I'm sorry. 7 days for $7 promo there. So check it out. It's the full tool set. You'll swim in great data just like we do here over at the shop. All right. From Search Engine Journal, Google confirms Search Console reporting is actually delayed. Google notified site owners that it's experiencing longer than usual delays in Search Console reporting. Now, this is reported by Matt Southern. So, Paul, how often are you in Search Console?
Oh, all the time.
Yes, sir.
If it's not from the API or another means, that's data that I'm looking at every single day. And this is not the first time we've seen delays in Search Console data. I feel like this happens fairly frequently.
No, absolutely. So this was confirmed by Google on Twitter at 5:11 a.m. Eastern on September 14th. They're currently experiencing longer than usual delays. So what that means to the layperson here is that we're not able to see the GSC data with I mean, they've actually upped their game. We had longer delays here at the beginning of the year. They've actually stepped it up I think in February or March that we could see data come in around 2 or 3 days, right, Paul?
Yeah, I forget what it was. I think it's even more recent than that.
Really?
It's 24 hours.
Oh my
something like
gosh,
that.
that's right. That's right. So,
Yeah.
so we were always navigating from almost like a week or 5-day type of increment. Now we're getting spoiled for 24 hours response. But it's amazing to be able to see that type of performance. So now, whenever we have any type of hiccups, and the same thing applied here just recently. I think Barry Schwartz actually reported something about Google My Business Insights got hung up, and it's not reporting anything since August 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a big gap there. But at the same time, we can't live and die by this data, but there should be hopefully some remedies on a regular basis. So if there are hiccups, that we can count on rectification within a couple days, because these are major steerage points that we use for our sites. So with that type of immediate data that you get, Paul, what do you use that for, and how can you counter maybe gaps in the indexing there?
I think it depends on what kind of site you're running, but it's not always common that I use keyword data that's that fresh. Like, you're looking for trends over time, then a lot of the historic data is going to be very, very useful. Mm-hmm. I am in publishing now, and I mean, we look at more recent data, but even so, I think some of the the more historic data is gonna drive a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the trends themselves. We've seen some great tools to be able to see analysis and compare and contrasts between 7 days and 30-day type of packages. There's some great spreadsheets out there to be able to use that data. I would love to see them and put as much time into GSC as they did and have done for Google Analytics. What an incredible unveiling that would be, to be able to. And now they're also tying in Google Analytics with Google Search Console as well. Have you been able to come across? Do you have any sites that you've been able to see that pairing up here recently?
I honestly, it's rare that I use either of these, either Google Analytics or Search Console via their UI, so it's not something I pay attention to.
That's
actually.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So you're pulling API data, and you're pulling downloads on a regular basis, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well, because Paul has regularly developed in-house SEO tools that we want to talk about here in the interview. So with that, be aware if you are actually steering by Google Search Console that it was delayed, and that report that came through on the 14th. I think they've actually reset that. I think we actually now have some fresh data, but always be aware of what's going on there. All right, so regarding some changes in the algorithm, and we do want to actually run that by you when we come across them. There have been some observations from, yet again, Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Roundtable. The man is a monster whenever it comes down to reporting algorithm changes. So around September 15th, he's been noticing a number of the tool sets that we regularly pay attention to began spiking with some algorithm changes. So let's run through these real quick on screen. So we've got SEMrush. Normally they're right at 5.3 on a volatility scale, but just yesterday they were at 8.2. So something happened here with the collective ranking visibility that SEMrush has available to them. This is an amalgam of all the different categories of information. So that was a big spike. Hadn't seen one of those for about 2 months. We've been coasting pretty nicely without that level of volatility. So if you look over at Moz, they were at 99 degrees here just yesterday. Again, this is September 17th, so when you hear this, it's going to be a few days later from here. But it's dropping back down very, very quickly. Now, do we go hyper reactive on these? Absolutely not. But you do need to pay attention if you're watching a particular site change. Be aware that these are ebbs and flows inside of the ranking volatility that you do need to be aware of. Over on Cognitive, we don't see a drop. It's continuing to grow here as of September 16th. We got a volatility out of 100.67. Over the last, like I said, 45 days, we've been pretty calm seas, as you can see it on screen. And lastly, with Rank Ranger, we've got at a risk level just yesterday of 104, and we've dropped down sizably since then. So everything's kind of shaking, but could this just be an anomaly? I think so. Lastly on the deck, actually, I did say lastly before, but the last point of the dashboard, we want to look at Bright Local. And this is the local rank flux score. We haven't offered that up before, but check that out. It's pretty cool. Out of a 0 to 10, right now we're at 3.18. But over the last 7 days, it's been relatively quiet. So we have had some local ranking spikes as well. So with all that, I'm going to ask Paul, what do you think about these quick anomalies as opposed to what we saw back in May, which was just an ungodly amount of changes over 2.5 weeks? It was just a constant volatile market in there. What do you think about these impacts to a site whenever it comes and goes so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I personally pay a lot of attention to. You often see these little spikes for a day, and then they disappear, and then you get hit with something huge shortly after, right? They sort of predict a storm to come. Mm-hmm. They test something, and then they push it out. So even if it's only for a fleeting moment, you only see something for a day, and then it resorts back to like what it was. I think it's something worth noting and being aware of. And again, right, you're not reactive to these big algorithm changes. Like what you need to do to improve things, you're not going to be able to be reactive to in most cases. You need to do good work.
You better believe it. Yeah. And that's kind of the protection against that. But it is valuable to get some of the insights from like a Glenn Gabe and what have you, if they're actually doing testing and what they're seeing deep in the annals of the SERP features. In fact, I was looking at Rank Ranger about this report, and there was all of a sudden a big pop in the percentage of new HTTPS listings. And these are small changes collectively, but at the same time, with these tools now, I'm going to talk about this in the interview. These tools are so fine-tuned now that we can see all the different SERP features. You can really kind of unpack what may be something very simple on the surface. You can find all of a sudden the video carousels are making their way to a much greater degree inside of the collective SERP. So you need to be able to pay attention to where your site is, what are those valuable aspects on SERPs that your site has, and how are those individual pieces being affected as opposed to a global rank change. I mean, if anything, it's a signifier of something deeper. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's why I'm a huge fan of with rank tracking pixels.
Huh.
So you track not where your listing is in terms of a position, but you track at what pixel on your screen it is. So that way, like you can retain position 1, but you have a sense of how things are moving around a little bit in the SERP.
So, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to ask about that here in the interview. But what software do you have out there that actually is tracking that particular real estate, or is it something that you've developed?
No. Actually, I'm not tracking against it right now. I need to get that figured out. But there's a few different softwares that do it.
Very cool.
Nozzle is a rank tracking service that does it. Happy to give them some credit right now.
Yeah.
Nozzle.io. They track a million things. Definitely great software.
But be able to see the real estate, your kind of battleground, that's actually even more important than just a general rank, because now you're seeing the topography of a SERP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right, so let's pack this up and get into our interview here. That's it for the Edge News this week. Be sure to check out the full interview with Paul Shapiro, linked to this podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updated when we go live with our videos or when we premiere ours. From all of us over at Edge, be safe, be well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Paul, and let's go to the show.